Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Board Report brought to you by Indian River Connections. I'm Joanne Binford, and this is John Karapi.
What's up? How you doing?
Doing good. Another Friday with the Board Report.
Yeah. What do we got going on tonight?
Well, you know, with Charlie Kirk and everything that's gone on and the memorials that everybody's been doing, we thought it would be a great time to show some of our favorite clips from Charlie Kirk today.
Right. That's a good idea. Looking forward to that. Nice.
Yeah. And, you know, it's just even today still, it's so unreal that Charlie Kirk is not with us anymore. I mean, he just made such an impact on so many lives, even not just the colleges, but people that watched his little clips on TikTok, you know, and the message that he gave. It was just so inspiring and so truth-filled and so American and God-loving, family-loving. It really was a great message every time.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a little tragic when you look at it, and it's a wonder, you know, why it occurred. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I have my, you know, theories on what the reasoning for it was, and but you know, it's you know, he was waking up to some things. He was speaking about some things that you know, the certain powers to be don't want to hear. So, like, you know, once you start to wake up to that and you see or speak the truth, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, and he was waking up a lot of the generation that's going to change the world, that's going to lead the world, lead America in the direction it's supposed to be led in, and that's to be a free republic. And that was a threat to many people out there that don't want us to survive this republic. They want to tear it down. They want Western civilization to fall apart. So I think it's a really special show that we're going to do tonight because Charlie, he's a martyr, 31 years old. That guy could read a book and recite the book to you. He was amazing, intelligent, and called out colleges for the thievery they do to our students of the future.
Yeah. Well, the future is when you get the minds of the kids. That's you get the future. That's how you get control of the future. So. And that's what they didn't want to hear, and that's why he's no longer with us.
Yeah, it's a sad thing, but his legacy is going to go on because we're all going to continue to fight for this nation and believe in our God and believe in, you know, the amazing Lord above, and that he has a plan and that our country is built on Judeo-Christian values, which creates the morals and the laws that we put in place in it today.
Absolutely. Yep. No doubt about that.
So what do you say we take a break, John, and then we pull up? We're going to come back after this message with Thomas Augustus and Mike Bollock, and we're going to show you some of our favorite videos.
Nice. All right.
Warrior Shield Foundation is here to unite, honor, and provide support for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members. The foundation will enable them to find the help they need through direct assistance or by connecting them with our Shared Vision Network. Using data-driven models, we provide solutions that make a long-lasting difference. We, along with our partners, are dedicated to bringing together like-minded groups and individuals who have committed to making a difference in the lives of our hardworking, everyday heroes. We bridge the gap by connecting warriors or their families with the assistance they deserve and require, such as service dogs, wheelchairs, counseling, scholarships, and team-building retreats, to name a few. You can help right now to make a difference for those who have helped and protected us all. Warrior Shield Foundation, selflessly doing for those who need it most.
It's a long way to home, but you won't take the hard road all alone. Just look to your left and look to your right. You were born to fight.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's
How you
up?
doing?
Hey Thomas.
Hey, there's Thomas. All right.
Sound clean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. If for you guys at home, we had a little rough start with audio settings. Your video looks a little fuzzy, but we can hear you, and there it is. Maybe it's just my internet. But hey guys, how's it going?
I'm hardwired over here. Come on.
Oh, you sound good. Yeah, you're coming right back into focus. You look great.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a lineup of videos, right, Mike?
Yep, we talked about getting some videos together of our favorite Charlie Kirk campus confrontations or whatnot, or speeches, and Thomas had a couple good real ones, and so did you, John. I don't know if you uploaded any or if whatnot.
No, I
but
didn't. I didn't. Yeah.
I've got
No.
a good handful of some good clips that we can share. I think that'll resonate. And yeah, who do you want to start with? You want to start with I've got one. I think that Thomas, being a journalist and being in the business for so long, would appreciate this one. Let me switch over.
I don't see the world.
Sorry, guys. I don't know why it's not playing all of a sudden. Let's get Joanne on there too. Anyways,
I'm excited to see what videos everybody picked because
I don't
you
know
just
why
had so many.
Rush. I don't know why they're censoring Rush.
Who's
It's not
censoring
a-
Rush?
I don't know. Here's Kirk on the Bible.
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that?
Yeah, what's going on with these videos, StreamYard?
Huh.
There we go. Just started over.
Huh. Well, let's go back to this scene and try it again. Let's try Thomas's pick.
On common law, because the Declaration only refers to God 4 times in the Constitution. It doesn't refer to God at all, and it only articulates the structure of government.
So first of all, remember that we were a collection of states and colonies, and you need to read the state constitutions before anything else. 9 out of 13 of the original states required you to be a Bible-believing Christian to serve in government at the time of the founding. All 13 out of 13 required a declaration of faith. 9 out of 13 required you to be a Protestant, except Maryland, which was Catholic, which still required a declaration of faith. Almost every single one of the original state constitutions, Pennsylvania included, they had, I profess Lord and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in the original state constitutions. You remember, we're a collection of states before that. Secondly, 55 out of 56 of the original signers of the Declaration were Bible-believing, church-attending Christians. So common law is inherited from Blackstone, who was Christian. A common law is an outgrowth of the scriptures. So let's go to 3 principles of common law: presumption of innocence, due process, and jury of your peers. All 3 are biblical principles, wrapped into the ultimate biblical principle that you shall not favor justice if you are rich or poor, which is in Leviticus 19, right before the most famous part of Leviticus 19, which is that you should love your neighbor as yourself. But before that is that in the administration of justice, you shall not favor the rich or the poor, which is the idea of blind justice. We get that in the West, which is incorporated also in the New Testament ideal. Neither slave nor Greek nor Jew, you're all one in Jesus Christ, which we get the idea of human equality. These are all biblical ideas. They're not Enlightenment ideas, which is they kind of get conflated at the time. But more importantly than that, they say that God was only mentioned 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. Well, that's a big deal. Okay. Laws of nature and nature's God. The last paragraph of the Declaration reads as a prayer. It says, we appeal to the supreme judge of the universe. Who's the judge of the universe? Jesus Christ. It says in Revelation that Jesus will judge the earth on his throne. So in the Declaration, they were praying to Christ our Lord as a prayer very specifically. Thirdly, as I said on the stage yesterday, Deuteronomy was by far the most quoted book, religious or non-religious, in the time of the founding when they were putting together the Constitution, more than John Locke, more than Montesquieu, more than Blackstone. So the book of Deuteronomy, which talked about laws, customs, traditions, it was Moses' farewell address as he's about to say goodbye, say, hey, good luck in Canaan, guys. Here's how you should set up your form of government. But finally, and most importantly, Let's look at actually what the founders said. John Adams famously said the Constitution was only written for a moral and religious people. It was wholly inadequate for the people of any other. The body politic of America was so Christian and was so Protestant that our form and structure of government was built for the people that believed in Christ our Lord. One of the reasons we're living through a constitutional crisis is that we no longer have a Christian nation, but we have a Christian form of government, and they're incompatible. So you cannot have liberty if you do not have a Christian population.
He is so right. He is so right. I
Now
love that
You
take.
hear that 55 out of 56 were Bible-believing Christians who signed the Declaration of Independence.
That's right.
51 of the 55 were clergy. So
Wow.
it shows you, it's not just that they were Bible-believing, but 51 of 55, they were the town leadership.
Yeah, and
If you go to, I'm going to sneeze here, sorry, but I'm trying not to. But anyway, if you go
it's
to
good luck.
yeah, if you go to Democracy in America by de Tocqueville, one of his big discoveries was how the local town and church managed American society. That's what he said. The people didn't have really a great education, but they had this compass centered around church life that managed the society in which they were in. And so, he's right. He's just right.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you get your morals from.
Everything.
It's the building of our documents came from the Lord's language.
And that whole thing about common law is actually a biblical paradigm because it requires equality. It requires justice. It requires blind justice. He said neither, whether you're rich or poor, you blind justice, as it says in Leviticus 19 that he quotes. And that's where common law has its founding in Blackstone's common law. So he's absolutely right. The Enlightenment period came out of religious revival.
Mm-hmm.
All that discovery did.
I think the great thing about Charlie is because the way he describes it and reads it and explains it, it makes you really want to pick up the Bible and go read it, because he tells you what scriptures he's referring to and how everything was built upon some of these scriptures, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and he explains it so that you look at it and you say, okay, I got to pick that book up and read it more, because he's going back to the scriptures every time.
And he's very well versed in it, that's for sure.
Well, he could read it and he would just absorb it like a sponge and spew it out. It was a gift that he had, and that he was so needed in America because he went to the colleges and was able to debate. And I've watched clip after clip to see his debates, even when he's being attacked. And he just stuck with all the knowledge that he had and used that knowledge to deliver the message. And he did it so eloquently. I just can't believe that he's not with us anymore.
There's a great piece at Daily Wire by Megan Basham, Basham, and it's called "The Report of the Religious Right's Death Were Greatly Exaggerated," because one of the things that was happening with the rise of Trump is there was a huge outcry in Christian evangelicalism that you can't side with Trump. He's this, he's that, he's rogue. He's been married 3 times and he's just, he was unabashed. He just says it like it is. And you can't do that in the church. And they were saying that what's going to happen, there's going to be a third rail in the church. And she goes on to explain, it's a really great piece, because she goes, in the middle of all that, these people trying to stop the church from being political, along comes Charlie Kirk. Because Charlie Kirk started in 12 and he really accelerated when he came alongside in the Trump campaign. And Don Jr. talks about it a lot, how he would just do anything. And, whether it meant making phone calls, he'd just get down in the dirt and the weeds and do it. He was a servant to the campaign. A Christian servant, but his unapologetic explanation of apologetics in the political world is what has restored a lot of people back to their faith, or to at least start, like you said, go read these books like Deuteronomy and Leviticus, the New Testament. I found, people weren't just going back to church. They're all like, I'm going to buy a Bible. That's a different paradigm. During 9/11, when 9/11 happened, everyone went back to church and the people didn't stay. But now people are saying, I'm going to go look at the Bible. That's a completely different paradigm. And they're under their whole idea of what does it mean to be an American as well, as God would say, what does it mean to work for the welfare of your own nation?
Well, I would say a lot of it has to do with what's going on in the world right now, Thomas, is not political, it's biblical. So,
yes,
so when you piece everything together, and I've been saying this on the TGI Now podcast for the last 2 years, like when you piece everything that's going on in the physical world that you're witnessing, and unfortunately this is a tragic event, but God uses something bad to make it into something good. So it's becoming a good thing because it's getting people to realize, like, wait a minute, this isn't a political surface thing. This is more biblical in the fact that prophecy's playing out right before our eyes on a daily basis, and a lot of people don't see that. And so they're starting to realize that, like, what kind of evil could have done this to a man that was trying to educate people and trying to wake the youth up? Because if you get control of the mind of the youth, you get control of the future. And so why would something so evil do that to somebody like of this stature? And that's because we're in a spiritual war. And so the fact is that the spirit has to take the Nephilim spirits that are on this earth are willing to take somebody out of his stature.
And I'm jump in there and say what you nailed it when you mentioned, Thomas, the Bible purchasing, not just going to church, but people are buying their Bibles. And I think a lot of that has to do with the language you've heard for me, I've noticed in the last few months, the term Bible believing church has been added to the vocabulary. Like 20 years ago, I never really heard Bible believing church because you just assumed all churches, believed in the Bible, but apparently not.
No, because some churches just interpret. They preach what they're interpreting, and they don't always interpret what the Bible's really reading. Some people just pick out some things to read out of the Bible. Not everybody is a true Bible delivery church.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into the discussion of this necessarily because it's above my pay grade when it comes to biblical reality, but I do somewhat know about it. But John just mentioned a great term that's in the Bible, Nephilim.
Yep.
And there are churches that refuse. I'm actually been doing some studying on it just because I don't know enough. But, there are people like, what's his name? Michael Heiser, who did a great study on Old Testament theology and what it's all about. And he just passed away recently. He has a book called The Unseen Realm, which is explains a lot of this stuff, or at least gets you going, and it's broken down in nice, clear understanding. But most biblical preachers on Sunday, they aren't going to touch that with a 10-foot pole because it's such a mystery. But it's God puts mystery out there to be discovered. Paul said, "No man has taught me this gospel." It's a revelation of Jesus Christ. So he literally had to show up and say, "Hey, I am who I say I am." That's what Paul's saying. He was revealed to him, and he's revealed to me. He's revealed to anyone who believes. They get a revelation of him. They don't just come to an intellectual assent. It can't work that way, and it never will. You have to know him, and that's the thing.
Yeah. And the unseen realm.
And then you start understanding the other things and those unseen things. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. That's what it is. It's the unseen realm, and that's what we're dealing with. And so Charlie was not only fighting the battle in the physical by trying to wake up as many people as possible, he was battling an unseen force that was against him. That while he was doing that, they're Nephilim spirits. That's what they are. They're a bloodline that the church doesn't want to talk about because of that fact that it's taboo, because of the things that these Nephilims did on the earth way back before God flooded the earth. So it's a lot of satanic things of that nature, and they don't want nobody talking about that.
No,
We
there are a
could
lot of
do
things
a
that
whole
want to
show
talk
on that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to break into a mad discussion
that's-
about it because I'll butcher the spiritual world in about 5 seconds.
Me too. I don't have that confidence either.
We can do it on the Collective Dream podcast, Thomas. I'll have you on that show.
There you go. I'll start reading a whole bunch of stuff and
Uh-huh.
figure out what's going on.
Right.
All right, let's check out Thomas's second video.
I think you're misunderstood.
Social.
Sorry for the misfusion here, but I'll get this down pat sooner or later. There we go.
Socialism is what I see.
What do you think socialism is? Because I think you're misunderstood.
Socialism is what I see, which is the implementation of totalitarian control on the means of the best interest of people under the guise of the failed doctrine of Marx and Engels.
That's wrong.
Just because you say it wrong doesn't make you right.
Just because you say I'm wrong doesn't make you right.
No, it actually does, because everywhere socialism has been implemented, you've seen catastrophic human deaths.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know what socialism is.
Well, what makes you a subject matter expert on the 100 million people that have died?
Are you a subject matter expert on that?
I actually am.
Are you?
Yes.
Do you have a degree in it?
Just because you have a degree doesn't mean you know more than other people.
Do you do research on it?
Plenty, more than you.
Do you?
Yeah, let's talk about socialism and communism, because I can name all 75 failed Marxist examples on 5 continents over the last 100 years.
I think you're misunderstood as to what Marxism is.
So give me one example of where Marxism has been implemented successfully.
Socialism is worker, not government.
Okay, so give me one example of where that exists.
It doesn't exist right now.
No, you're wrong, actually, because in America, over 4 million people work in employee-owned companies. So the very model
that's not a
they
country.
own the means of production. Yes,
no,
they own the company.
that's not a country based on socialist principles.
No, you're right. It's actually a free
That's a
market country
company.
that allows your worldview to be implemented successfully and peacefully.
Can I make a comment before you dissect it? Okay, so before we dissect that, I want to show the comparison. Charlie's confidence matches his intelligence, and equally, but in a negative manner, her confidence matches her ignorance, because she was dead set that she was right when she was completely wrong. Now, what do you take away mostly from that clip?
Well, he's very young. I would gather that he might have been a sophomore in college when he did that. You look how young he is.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You want to know what's funny? You go watch that.
He looks like he's 19 or 20 there.
It's funny. You go watch that Fox interview where he's the first time he's on TV, and he's got the thickest Chicago accent. I mean, he took speech lessons because he got rid of his regional dialect, and he became really versed in diction and things like that. And so, but you could tell he was trying to pull the definitions and stuff, but he knew exactly where she was going. And that whole thing he said about socialism and employee-owned companies, that was brilliant. This is so brilliant. Oh, you can actually practice it in a capitalist society peacefully. Go work for one.
Let me see if I can pull up that very first interview.
Love
Hold on
it.
1 second.
Taught on common law.
Let me share a screen here.
You have it? You have it, Mike?
I just pulled it up on Google, so let's keep our fingers
God, you're
crossed here.
fast.
Where is it? Well, it should be right there. Just bear with me. There it is. And then
this is the first time he was ever on TV, and it was right here on Fox and Friends, May 21st, 2012.
When we graduate from high school this coming June, we're handed a diploma
That's also an invoice for hundreds of thousands of dollars that my generation's going to have to pay off through interest, high taxes, and a stagnant economy. We here at Liberty believe that if we do not change the conversation back to us, the kids that are going to have to inherit this debt, that our economy will be stagnant for years to come. And our website, we have really interesting things. We have videos, pictures trying to inspire the youth, SOSLiberty.com, that has a wide variety of youth from all across the country jumping onto our cause. Well, I'm having a trouble finding a summer job, as is Mike, in a lot of different regards. A lot of kids are feeling the effects of what we like to call, with the Washington economy, with a lot of debt, plummeting small business, with higher regulation and high taxes. We're just trying to reinstitute the founding principles, free market, fiscal responsibility. SOS Liberty is a nonpartisan. We don't consider this a Republican versus Democrat issue, but rather a generational one.
Yeah, I don't know what that video is down there, so don't mind
Man, he
that.
was just amazing. He's like 18 years old there.
Economy, high taxes.
Well, they all said, knowing him, that you hear when somebody passes away, unfortunately you hear about how great they are, but I mean, he was somebody that people talked about this when he was here, and that's what I wanted to share. Let me see if it'll work again or not work again. I got a different upload here.
It's just crazy that so many people fell for the
A
propaganda
conference.
saying he was hateful. He wasn't.
What was it?
hateful at all.
Turning Point USA. How many kids were there?
I don't know
And
what is up. Why is it my videos?
Play the audio. I mean, it's Rush. He's better.
Yes.
Better not watching him anyway.
3,000 student activists here it was actually over in West Palm Beach. And this is a group that has been put together and operates under the auspices of Charlie Kirk, right? Who is you're going to be hearing that name if you haven't. Charlie Kirk. Let me just tell you. I don't want to jinx him, but I'm just going to tell you. They brought Charlie Kirk to the golf course to meet me about a month ago. He was in town to set up this Turning Point thing, and they brought him to the golf course to meet me. It was we were getting ready for a 8:45 a.m. start, and they brought him out while I was getting ready to go to the range to loosen up. And I spoke with him for about a half hour, and he told me how he grew up in a home where my program was on all the time. He was just effusively complimentary to me, which I, of course, understood, and told him he's very wise. His family's very wise. He chuckled. He laughed. This is the kind of guy that you can see really becoming big in politics as he gets older. He just has the carriage, the personality, the charisma. You may think this sounds weird, but I remember when Bill Clinton became president, there were all of these stories about Bill Clinton at Oxford and Bill Clinton at Yale and Bill Clinton here and all these people who went to school with him. There were story after story after story where people were saying that they just knew Bill Clinton was going to be president someday. In college, he just had that kind of ambition, and he impressed people in a way that he could. I'm telling you that people are saying the same things about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, and that's coming from Rush. And how long has Rush been gone for?
Since 2021.
Yeah, that's
February 17th, 2021.
Yeah, so I mean, and a lot of people, I talk about this with Leo. He's a younger generation, which it's odd. It's not odd, but I'm not surprised. The generation that was in college, they all know who Charlie Kirk was. Like him or hate him, they all know who he is. The generation that didn't go to these colleges, they've only seen like 15-second, 20-second clips of him and really don't know him, or seen the 35-second clip of what his point was. So they get this narrative in their head that he was a horrible person by these 15-second clips.
Right.
But when they just, like I said, the college kids, they all know the name, but they're all consuming that same 15, 20-second clip and not seeing the whole picture. Yeah, but I'm amazed at the amount of people in the sphere for the last 10 years knew that he was going to be somebody. Unfortunately, he left us too soon.
Oh, yeah, and easily, because
he was somebody.
he could have easily won an election for presidency because he tapped into all of those college students, all of that younger generation, and he literally gave them a voice on campus. You know, some kids were getting to the point where they were afraid to wear their crosses on their necks and, you know, to admit they were Christians. And, you know, he just opened up a whole new door for them and invited the opposition to come on and debate, and he did it civilly. So he was becoming a powerful figure for America, and that was the threat.
Mike, you said something, you know, you were going to play that clip first, and you said you like this because I have a background in media. Well, you know, with Rush, I work for XM Satellite Radio. So when Rush, he changed to AM radio. FM radio had really come along, music radio, and AM was just, it was a dinosaur. It was old school. It was, and he got on AM radio and changed it. And a lot of, you know, independent small business broadcasters took his show on, as well as the big ones. But the small ones, he had 650, 680 radio stations.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's
and
a
most
lot.
of it was on AM. And so I was in satellite radio. So when satellite radio came along, they made overtures to him like, come on, man, you got to come to the future. And he said, no, I'm sticking with those that got me here. And because it's the American people.
Yeah.
So now you fast forward in media, Trump comes along, and what does he do? He takes the one thing to change the whole compass of how we discuss politics. Politics was all about political correctness. It was sterile. It was redundant. It was awful. And he comes in, walks down that escalator, and he just tells it like it is, and he declares for the presidency. And that, you know, what were Republicans doing during the time of his candidacy in regards to Twitter? They weren't talking about what he was saying. They were saying whether he should say it at all. And they wanted him to self-censor. And then Charlie Kirk in this process comes along, and he blows up using new media only and filming all of what he does to have these conversations. And he took what Trump was doing and he put it right in front of the people. And he had those debates that Trump was saying we should be having inside the halls of Congress. He was having them inside the halls of colleges and universities. And that's where they really should have been happening. So proper legislation would be made. And that's what made Charlie Kirk who he is and has been. And as he went along, his faith got really strong, you know, towards the end of his life. And it became the all-encompassing thing, that whole paradigm of faith and then the welfare of your nation and the family was so important to him. His wife has said it. He said it. And to me, that's the beauty of this about the media. It is we are seeing it now. No one's listening to CNN anymore. No one's really doing it. They use it to, what do they use it for online? Oh, yeah, granted, their clips are going out millions of views, but what are they using it for primarily online? To basically bludgeon the debate.
Well,
to debate the other side.
Yeah, in the media, the numbers, when you say like CNN, just mainstream media outlets like Tim Pool's numbers are blowing Jimmy Kimmel's out of the water. So, and it's totally different. But I would have to say, I do.
Well, you got to understand too, though. Jimmy Kimmel may have 120,000 on TV, but he's got 20 million followers on Twitter,
across all the platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know,
so does Tim Pool.
They're not playing the game either.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, but
they're covering their bases.
A lot of those followers are inflated too when it comes to that kind of stuff.
I'm sure they're bots.
They're all lifted up way higher than they should be. So that those are all inflated numbers too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
I do. Yeah. I would say I do miss tuning in to the AM stations on the job site and hearing Rush in the background or Beck or Savage. You know, now with new media, which you got to love it, you know, you've got everybody at your fingertips and you can hear it crystal clear and see them too. So, Joanne, you had a video, hopefully it works, about that dialogue, Kirk, that Thomas brought up, the dialogue where Kirk took new media. Let me.
Because I love talking with people I disagree with.
What have you done for your country?
started an organization that's now on 1,000+ campuses to save the greatest culture and country ever to exist. What's your name?
Elise.
Nice to see you.
I'm wondering, like, where kindness fits into your message. And if it does.
Yeah. I try. That's why I'm here. In part way. I think when we stop talking, that's when hatred begins. And I'll talk to anyone at any time about anything I've said or what I believe. And typically, more times than not, I'll be the one that's sitting there getting names called at me, being called things that are not accurate. When churches stop talking, when marriages
I wish
stop
everybody in
talking,
the background would be
friends
quiet.
stop talking, division and strife usually begins. And so I think dialogue is paramount to a healthy and functioning society.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
And my question for you is, do you have any hate against the LGBT community?
How could I hate that which I have a heart for? I might not agree at that for some of the lifestyle choices that some people make, but of course not. And if someone said, Charlie, what's your view on marriage? I say, I believe marriage is between one man and one woman. Do I have hate in my heart for somebody that doesn't choose the lifestyle that I believe that God laid out in the scriptures? Of course not.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations because that's
Santa
what
Paulina
is
Luna.
so important to our country, is to
That
find
is.
our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens. You could see that happen all across the world.
What motivates you to come out here?
Well, because I love talking to people I disagree with. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
First, I just want to say I don't agree with you on a lot of stuff, but I really respect, and I think you don't agree with me on a lot of stuff, but I really respect that you'll have a dialogue. I think one of the big problems in this country right now is, like, people can't have a dialogue, and people, like, don't even know how to, like, have a dialogue and use logic and, like, have an actual argument like you do. So how do we improve that as a country? How do you think we get more people that can argue like on both sides of the aisle?
I think this event is a great example of it, right? I think that this event is, we need to have differing opinions. We need to have people that don't share the same worldview and see which one is better and try to find common bond. You should have your own discussions like this every day. You should try to model it and try to have, back and forth, and that's what makes the country strong and great. Civil dialogue.
We should be able to disagree and to have dialogue or discourse, but we all love America. If you don't love America, there's other organizations out there. Turning Point USSR or something like that.
That's so true. Without dialogue, we don't have a country. We just have an emotional reaction to, look, you're not seeing things my way, so F you, We got to have that dialogue, and we learned so much from it. We learned so much just from listening to Charlie Kirk have his dialogue on those campuses.
You're right. And I've working in management, one of the first things you have to learn to do when having to pass down accountability is owning the decision. So even if it's coming from above, you don't pass it. You don't say, oh, I'm being forced to do this, And what I found out is a lot of those campus revivals are invites from the local TPUSA chapters. Like, they work and they raise funds and get Charlie to come there. And he never once said, I'm here because they want me here. But he always owned it. I'm here because I want to have these tough, conversations.
Yes.
He never passed it off. I'm here because, the chapter wants me here or whatever, he owned every one of them, even though as big as TPUSA is now, those things are already planned out strategically where they need chapters or where their chapters need support and stuff like that. So I think, speaking on that, I believe Oklahoma came out today and said there will be a TPUSA chapter in every high school in the state.
Yes, the superintendent of Oklahoma did announce that. It was yesterday, actually. Yes.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
pretty cool.
And then our attorney general's office, I believe, came out and said if there's any school in the state that gives any friction to creating a TPSU chapter here, they will face legal consequences, which I don't know the law, but so that's good. I mean, it's good. I think it's good that they have these options to organize like this, and definitely to help enforce and lift up other conservatives, because especially young conservatives. I can remember when I was in the Young Republicans in Brevard, and it was just like, it wasn't popular, obviously, you know, because everybody, well, when I was in high school, everybody had a anti-establishment mentality anyways, except maybe some of the kids in ROTC. But yeah, do you guys have anything to say on that video?
Well, TPUSA was anti-establishment because the establishment was trying to shut out speech. I think that's
Right.
one of the things with, you know, Trump's Twitter feed and then the rise of Kirk. They broke convention. They all broke convention, whether it's convention on how we dialogue about politics, Rush, convention of radio and the way it was going. All these types of people, they break the rules of convention. They break the rules of the convention of speech. They break the rules of where can you have this dialogue. I mean, he went into a hostile environment on the daily because basically the paradigm of the college institution was teaching the exact opposite of what he believed. And he did it without a college education. That's what's, you know, still always startling.
Yeah, and then he went on to college campuses and said, you know, they're ripping you off.
Yeah, he says, oh, by the way, you guys are being scammed.
Yeah.
and the kids believed him. They, you know, they started, let's say we're like scientists and engineers, and they were getting, you know, those good mathematical degrees that I probably should have gotten. But you know what I mean? So
I've got another one I'm hoping works. Let me pull it up.
Oh, by the way, while you're pulling that up, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Speaking of superintendents, there is the other side of superintendents. That you hear today that ICE arrested the superintendent of Des Moines, Iowa schools,
The
who is
largest
an
school district. Yeah.
in Iowa because he's an illegal immigrant from Africa.
It's crazy.
He was armed. He was armed and attempted to flee. And when they pulled him over, he had about 3,000 cash and a loaded gun. The largest school district in Iowa. His name is Ian Andre Roberts, and he's a citizen of Guyana, and he'll be on a flight soon. So go ahead.
It's crazy.
He had a deportation order back in 24, and for the last year, they still didn't deport him. They still allowed him to be the superintendent.
We did see that
of the
school
system.
district. That school district isn't vetting their employees very well.
Not at all.
Largest city in Iowa. I don't
Before I play this video, if you are watching at home, be sure to like, share, drop a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know your thoughts on Charlie Kirk. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. So we would a comment and a like and a share. Any one of those goes a long way. So this is Charlie Kirk's, not the one. Yes, this is, I think, one of his latest messages where, well, not one of his latest messages, but one that gets a lot of heat in the 15-second clips. But when you go longer, you hear what he's saying, and he makes a lot of sense. Let me see if it'll work.
Or dad's not being around it. Which one's systemic racism or dad's not being around it? Which one's a bigger issue in America?
Systemic racism. Absolutely. Systemic racism has more of a violent. Can I?
No, but be specific. What law is systemically racist? Is there one?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
So you see a gap and you scream racism.
No, that's not what
Yes,
I'm
no,
doing.
yes, you have,
No,
actually.
but look. I'm trying to examine what the disparities
Causes
are.
and effects, right?
Yes.
It is an immature view to act, wow, there's a disparity, it must be racism. There are hundreds of other contributing factors. Let me give you an example. Have you ever heard of firstborn privilege?
Yes, I have.
So firstborn privilege is that if you are the firstborn kid, you're more likely to have a higher income, more likely to gain wealth, less likely to go to prison just because you got more attention from your family. What I'm getting at is there are hundreds of other explanations.
Absolutely.
More than just systemic racism, the biggest of which is when you have kids that are being raised without dads, you're setting them up on a course for permanent failure.
Yeah, there's other videos out there where he gives the prime examples of, and the statistics. He's got the numbers, but like you said, Joanne, I don't know how he absorbs all this, and he's ready to fire off facts at every confrontation, and it was just amazing.
And
I
was
wish,
gifted.
yeah, I wish, I mean, like John said, everything happens for a reason, and every bad thing, something good comes out of. And I heard a African preacher say today in Africa, talking, not today, but I heard the video today, about Charlie Kirk during their sermon and about how he was silenced, but by what they did was they forced his message into corners of the world that would have never heard of Charlie Kirk like them. Like they never really knew of Charlie Kirk before now, but now all this is getting out there. So
he was saying that from the continent of Africa.
Right. Yeah, and it was definitely, I don't know if you've seen the video, but it wasn't Baltimore, it was Africa. I've got, let's see if this is working now. Let's play Kirk's take on the Bible. Of course, it's not going to work.
It'll work.
Hello. Nope. I don't know how I got the last one to work, but
yeah, that's pretty odd.
Well, you know, it's funny because you have to listen to the whole things with the whole talk about gun violence and the gun debate he actually had. And he, you know, there's 30,000.
Yeah, because there's more car deaths.
Yeah, he says there's 30,000 gun deaths a year. Is that worth having the Second Amendment? And people are like, no. And then he says, you know, well, we have the right to drive. There's 50,000 car deaths a year. By the way, most of the 30,000 are from suicidal ideation. And he talks about that. And he goes this long, lengthy discussion. He talks about the cars. He says, so should we stop having cars? And these kids are like, no, we need our car. He says, well, that's the cost of having a car.
Yeah.
In society and having that mobility in what we do.
Let's see if this will
and
work.
have safety and do all those other things. Same
That's
with
right.
gun.
I saw that one. That was a good one.
I don't know why this is not working for us. Totally strange. It's StreamYard though. It's not us because it's just the videos that, yeah, it's just mine. That is strange. Anyways.
Are you running on wireless?
No, on wireless. I'm on Starlink. Here's my favorite though. This one will work. I'm glad this one will work.
Let it load. It'll load.
Yeah, this one will work for us.
I don't see the world that way because there's being a father to a daughter, there's a very unique bond between a father and a daughter where it's you fall in love again, but not romantic love. You fall in a different type of Greek love, which is called storge, which is a father-daughter love, where you have such affection for this incredible being, and your task is to shepherd that vulnerable, innocent girl through life all the way up until the marriage aisle to kind of connect the two topics together, right?
Wow.
Where then you hand it off to another man because women are worthy of protection.
Let me see.
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner.
So while but before this one gets going, that one is obviously touching to me. I have 2 daughters and a son. They all mean the world to me. But as a girl dad, my kids are young, but just the thought of that, it definitely brings you a little closer to God. Just having a daughter, I would say, and thinking about what the future has to hold and having to give her up, you know, it's
so
pretty scary.
You've experienced storge.
For sure. Here's what's that, Thomas?
Master.
Yeah, I've never heard that term before now.
There are a lot of terms we don't hear until you watch the Charlie Kirk video.
Exactly. Leave it to Charlie to introduce us to. Here's Kirk on the Bible is what I have it saved as.
Are you a Christian by any chance?
Very, very much so.
Like, why is that exactly?
Jesus saved my life. I'm a sinner, gave my life to Christ, most important decision I ever made.
So you believe the Bible is real?
Yes, I believe the Bible is true and real. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I could give you the technical answer. There's never been an archaeological discovery that has contradicted the truth of the Bible. And then, of course, the wisdom. There's not a truth of the Bible that if you apply to your life does not improve dramatically. And then finally, we have the most accurate and transparent, historically robust account that one can have of the most important figure ever to live in the history of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. And the resurrection is the pinpoint of my belief that Jesus did rise from the grave so that we may live.
What makes Christian mythology real?
So that's not mythology, but that is theology. If Genesis 1:1 and the resurrection is true, anything in the Bible is possible. You're looking at the greatest miracle. The greatest miracle is creation. And then the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. And I say, how do you know that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, show me another historical piece of a story where so many people willingly died a brutal death for a lie. Every single person around him had everything to lose, and yet they went to the absolute depth, from Paul to Peter to the half-brother of James, saying that Jesus is Lord, Jesus rose from the dead. Not to mention, if you were going to fake a story, you would not use female witnesses in the ancient world. In the scriptures, it said that the women were the first one to see Jesus Christ. If you're trying to fake a story, you would never do that.
Yeah,
That's
very
great.
powerful. And like I said, that confidence matches the biblical, the intelligence he has when it comes to that Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know many people who could just shoot off? Even I don't know very many pastors, but I've seen a lot of them in action, and I don't think very many of them could do it as eloquently and rapid fire like Charlie Kirk can. He doesn't know what these questions are ahead of time.
He's at the heart, though. He's an evangelist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so and he's always ready. And he studied. He took that scripture seriously. Study and show yourself approved. I mean, he didn't just study the word. Then his facts and understanding about American civic life and history just fell under the paradigm of his biblical understanding. That's the crazy thing. And a lot of times, you know, in the political discussion, it's politics over here, and then the religion's not talked about. You as a believer are like, well, why can't you guys say this in such a manner to express the spiritual underpinning and the foundational underpinning of it? And here's a guy who came along and did that. You know, he did
Powerfully,
that.
yeah.
It's just amazing how he would go shift in and out, because in his thinking, in his worldview, his paradigm, it all flowed from one place. It's not politics over here and God over here. It's here's the deal, you know, wrapped up in a nutshell, and why America exists the way it does.
Mm-hmm. And it makes so much sense when he says you can't have liberty without a Christian nation, because a lot of what is biblical is tied into how our nation became and how it runs, and the Constitution, and God, you know, like he said, the 13 states had, or in their original Constitution you had to be Christian. You had to have faith.
You had to have acknowledgement of faith. I mean,
that's right.
You know, Virginia was Anglican. Now, some of them were denominational acknowledgments. Virginia and Massachusetts were Anglican. He mentions Maryland being Catholic. The Pennsylvanians were Quaker. On and on and on. So, yeah, it's absolutely that whole foundation of equality is there in that reality.
And all those people came here to practice their religion openly.
That's how it started, yes.
Not to make sure nobody practiced it equally, but to practice your religion openly.
I mean,
and that's why
your religion of choice is what it.
Yeah, and that's why multiculturalism isn't working in the Western civilization here in the United States, because people are not coming here to assimilate anymore. They're coming here to change the United States. They're not coming here to leave their country behind. They're coming here and bringing all of that here and expecting us to change, to assimilate to them. I mean, how many of them come over here and expect us to speak their language, you know, or they come here and, like he was saying, he said in one of his, he started talking about Islam and talking about, hey, what's the American dream is to have a family, to buy a house, to go to church, to be able to live in a safe neighborhood, and not to have the Islamic prayer outside your door 5 times a day, or being forced upon your children in school. You know, I mean, that's not assimilation. You know, people should come here to love America, make America stronger, and they do that by assimilating, not becoming a multicultural nation. That's what's going to be our demise.
And just like Christians, though, like Christians are supposed to evangelize, and the Muslims are supposed to do the same thing. I couldn't find the video. I was looking for it too, but I watched the video. Maybe one of y'all sent it to us earlier, where a Muslim was asked, why are you living in a Christian country if you're Muslim? why are you here and why are you trying to do what you are? And he very eloquently and honestly said, because their mission is to
It's jihad.
get
It's
what
to make world religion.
is that my end? Did you guys hear that, or is it me
I
going
did.
crazy? Okay. I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. But their job is to go and show their faith, to try to convert and obviously intersect themselves into that culture to eventually consume it. I mean, going back to I don't know, maybe it was the Ottomans. That's what they did. And but the multicultural, you have a point there though. The multiculturalism can work, but only if, I hate to say it, if they're Christian Judeo cultures. It doesn't mix with fundamental Islam.
No, I have to disagree with that because Mexico, Peru, all these Spanish nations are Christian, and they come here and they don't assimilate. It doesn't work.
Well, you have American culture. You have American culture. You have Hispanic cultures. You have, the various cultures of nations. You can't come to another nation and attempt to establish your nation.
Right.
And it's custom.
Right.
You can't, and I think that's, you have to be very precise about this. And that's what is happening. There are people coming from other nations here, and they're attempting to establish the customs of their nation. In reverse, these other nations don't necessarily allow other people to do that.
Yeah, but we have to be careful how we say that though, because we have other cultures here that are assimilated from.
But there's
South America,
culture here,
right?
Yeah,
but I'm saying I know what Joanne's saying. Right.
But they're not bringing the communism. They're bringing the freedom of who they are. They're not bringing the communism of who they are.
We have multiple cultures that are already making up America, what America is good for. And then we have the cultures that are not, like Joanne said, that are not assimilating. But we have that multiculturalism here already as Americans. The illegal ones you're referring to, Joanne, you're right. They're not here to assimilate, and we got to get them out.
Well, when I think of multicultural, I think you're bringing your culture here to live like your culture lives over there. Like, you're not coming here to assimilate and become American. We have backgrounds. We have a lot of, you're right, cultures from different backgrounds, but they've become American and they've assimilated. But we have these multicultural people that are coming here and they have no reason to assimilate. They come here and they were picketing on 50 to keep the borders open and leave everybody here and not send anybody back, and not understanding what the Constitution, if you ask them how they vote, they haven't assimilated at all. They don't even understand that their vote matters locally in the primary.
Yeah, but that's not to discount the Hispanic population that's here, that's still Hispanic by culture, that did assimilate. So I feel like we need to be very careful.
There's a distinction there. Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to emphasize, is that distinction.
Absolutely.
The population that's not here to assimilate, they don't mix whether they're Christian or whatever. They're not.
There are a lot of people here who come because, like I said, they come for the freedom of what America represents, and they learn to assimilate, but their identity is they're Cuban Americans or what have you, because they have this distinct culture. They have food. They have all these different things. My nephew's getting married to a Cuban girl. Her father and mother came over. They're part of the boat lift, and they come here for freedom. And there's a lot of people who came in the last immigration move. A lot of young men, a lot of this, a lot of that. They can come here in that same understanding. I got to get away from this tyranny in my homeland that'll seek to murder me if I am not compliant. I need to get to freedom, and then I can live as my heart sees fit under that freedom that is given to me by a nation that will accept me. And we see a lot of that here, but there are a lot of people, to Joanne's point, that are coming going, now I should be able to exist as it was, fully, the laws and customs of my nation should now be superimposed on yours for my benefit. No, it doesn't work that way. We talked about this last week with those Islamic neighborhoods that are going up in Texas. That's pretty interesting stuff, because it's like, if you're not a member of the club or the religion, you don't necessarily get a home there. If you wanted to buy a house in a clean neighborhood, I'm sure it's really clean, and you're not saying I'm a Muslim, you're probably not getting one. That's just the way it is. Yeah. And that doesn't make any, that's where we're superimposing our culture. I mean, look at Dearborn, Michigan. You got a mayor, most of your city council, your sheriff, all these people are all Muslim now. You know what's coming. They're going to superimpose the religious identity on a constitutional structure.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you take over from within.
That's their mission. That's their mission.
And you change the whole structure. I mean, they've done it in New Jersey, Palestine, New Jersey. That's just, they've got a Muslim mayor, Muslim, city officials, Muslim police, and they pretend to assimilate. Or you've got Mandami in New York running for mayor, and they're going to go and vote for him because he sounds good, but he's really in there to change the laws and
to superimpose
yes, that's
communism on top of a structure and crush that structure.
So that's the kind of multicultural
and take over grocery stores.
Yeah.
So I saw another video today, and I feel the same way about this type of thing as I do the Muslim community. I don't know the structure, but it's a white town in northern Arkansas in the Ozarks, and it's not actually a town, but it's a same thing. They own thousands of acres, and they sell a membership, and for that membership you get land in this club, and that's the way they circumvent discrimination, I guess you would call it, or
sounds
racism.
Like a country club.
It's exactly how it's exactly their defense, though. Is
and
that's pretty much what it is.
They own that land,
right? It gives them access to this land.
But they discriminate with race.
Yes, it's I didn't save the video. I should have, because I was like, no
See,
shit. And it was
who'd want
to me
about that?
Yeah, like I mean, I get it. Like when it comes to racism, that's a whole nother show. But there are people out there that believe you need to preserve your race. Whatever, who cares? Races have evolved over millennial, anyways. I
know they've evolved into more evil ways of doing things.
Yeah, but like, if you want to interracial, I don't really care. But there are some people that are hardline when it comes to that, and I think it's unfortunate. Yeah, it's a touchy subject to get down into, but
it disgusts me to no end, no matter what.
Yeah. I don't have anything else. We do have a longer video we'll play on our outro, and it's got to do with Islam and the Christian cultures. It's a Charlie Kirk video. It's about 7 minutes long.
We'll play it. He's interviewing the gentleman he's with. They're having a conversation.
This one's Joanne's. Do you want to tell us about it? I mean, you can tell us about it now, or it's about time to go.
Well, yeah, I thought it was appropriate because he was assassinated, and he was bringing a lot of things to light, and the Islamic jihad that is coming for us, the Christians, is what he was speaking of. So they are also influencing our children. So it's going to show him and how passionate he is and how he expresses it. Nobody can really do it as well as he does. So just play the clip and let them see what Charlie has to say. But I would stick around and watch it because everybody should be aware and everybody should be on high alert because it's coming. We've got 180 mosques here in Florida. So it's coming to every state.
Texas just banned that Sharia law. So I'm wondering, like the path we were going down last week, Are we going to see a migration of
Yeah, and
these
Randy
community?
Fine.
Yeah, Randy Fine. I love
he
him,
just
but man, he is a
just
magnet for lawn darts, I swear.
I know, but he just put in to ban Sharia law.
You can't, like, it's hard to support Randy Fine sometimes without getting blacklisted yourself, but the guy makes a lot of sense.
Magnet for lawn darts. I
Oh
love
man,
it.
he puts his neck out there though. You know, no pun
Yeah,
intended.
I had to tell him
Just
thank
like,
you.
and he was from our area originally. Now he's up in the Jacksonville area as I think he's a congressman now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Not a senator, but a congressman. So yeah, he's
Play the clip.
Yeah. Well, before we play the clip, because it's our outro, Thomas is I don't have your link pulled up, but do you want to tell people where they can find the Sunshine Journal?
Go to thomasaugustus.substack.com. thomasaugustus.substack.com.
And
or
anything,
just search it on Google, the Sunshine Journal. It'll pop
Yep.
up there right at the top. 'Cause
Yeah.
Substack good about that.
Always publishing great articles.
It's the only time I get to the top of the feed of a Google search is when you actually put the Sunshine Journal in the search window.
Yeah. And it does help actually. Anything else going on around town that you wanted to talk about before we throw it out?
Oh, don't get me started.
That's another hour.
I know
Okay.
October Walking Tree's having Oktoberfest over there, so if anybody all weekend, so they can do that.
And October 4th at Okeechobee, there's a huge revival.
Huge revival.
5 to 7 p.m.
Who's doing it?
There's a gentleman out there named David Walden. Search him on Facebook. And God gave him a vision to just stand on the corner there at 441 and 70 at the Walgreens parking lot. And he holds a sign. He says, "Pull over and we'll pray about it." That's what the sign says.
Oh, that's cool.
And
now
now,
I saw that on the news.
Yeah, the Okeechobee Post, who I met those guys last night, has been covering it, and it's just been really phenomenal. People are just pulling over in the Walgreens, and he's seeing all sorts of transformations and different things. And God just gave him. He's just this one guy. He's like 25, 26 years old.
Wow, that's
awesome. And
well, Thomas,
the mayor got on with him, and now they're going to host a huge revival in the park out there, right there in front on Main Street, there in front of the stores.
I want to remind everybody, and you, Thomas, that we have the Connecting People and Places podcast that's always looking for a great interview. So if you're ever in the mood to facilitate one of those interviews with somebody like him or anybody else, we can facilitate that for you. So
I'm going to go out to the revival and hook up with him. That's for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
John is MIA. It must be dinner time for John. We're missing John, but
well, he has a sign there. Please come in and speak. So anybody can go do that.
yeah. That's kind of like the change my mind sign. All right. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next week. I am not going to be here, but next week we're planning on having Chandler
Langevin
from Palm Bay City Council and Joe
Right. I don't want to say his name.
Joe Murphy, right?
Joe Murphy.
Joe
Joe
Murphy.
Yeah. Joe Murphy on, and I think that'll be a
Joe's
great
a good
show.
guy.
I always miss the good ones. I'm gonna miss them. I missed the one you guys had, Karen Hiltz and Laura Zork on. There's a few I've missed, but I'll be tuning in, that's for sure. And hopefully something changes at work where I won't miss it. But Thomas, are you going to be with us next week for that?
I don't know.
I think we have Jennifer Pippin's going to be on also. So great.
That's Friday the 3rd, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's next Friday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you
yeah.
have any going on?
Let's
Friday
have a
the
school
3rd?
board meeting
On the 3rd or before then?
that Monday, this coming Monday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I figured they'd be great guys to get their opinions on what's going on in the world today and in their area, because they're just north of us in Palm Bay. And then we can get into after that what's going on in our town with the school board. But it's going to be y'all's show, so I look forward to watching. John, you got anything before we go?
No, that was good. That was a great show, guys. That was really good. Good tribute to Charlie, and now we just got to move forward, stay awake and aware, and just protect your mind, control your emotions, and don't don't absorb what we're seeing. It's just biblical. It's not political, guys. So just be smart.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know if you were there, but we have an 8-minute outro. It's going to be another Charlie Kirk video that goes a little more into the spiritual part of it. So thanks again for joining us. If you're watching at home on Rumble, X, YouTube, or Facebook, hit the thumbs up, drop a comment, and tune in next week. So thanks, guys.
Cool.
We are living through Genesis 50:20 right now. What the enemy meant for evil, God will use for good. And it is a prerequisite for a explosion of Christianity and commitments for Christ. But the second part is equally as important. And that's what I also want to talk about, which is the state of our nation. Which is, praise God, God gave us a respite. Donald Trump won. Young people helped deliver it. But going even beyond that, what is the type of country that we want to live in? I want to live in a type of country where you don't have to lock your doors at night. A type of country where church attendance is going up. A type of country where people are going to get married and have children. A type of country where we are not going to have a Muslim Marxist mayor of New York City. There's something wrong with that, everybody. Now, this is where people say, Charlie, you can't say that. Let me repeat it for whatever stenographer for the media. There's something wrong when you have a Muslim Marxist mayor of New York City, our greatest city. There's something wrong with that. In fact, we don't talk enough about Islam. There is a red-green axis that is trying to suffocate this country. We talk a lot about the red, which is the Marxist, but we don't talk nearly enough about the Islamist. We don't talk nearly enough about the hundreds of thousands of Muslims that we have voluntarily imported into our country that build mosques, implement Sharia law. I don't know if you guys have this problem in South Carolina or not, but thankfully no. But you go to Minneapolis, you even go to Dallas, you go to New York, and it will metastasize. It will spread. You know why? Because the women of the West, they get cats. The women of Muslims, they have 8 kids. Eventually, it doesn't work very well. It's just a bunch of math. The women of the West have abortions. The women of Muslims, they have entire communities they can fill. When you import one, you get 32, 10 years later, chain migration, all this nonsense. People say, but Charlie, don't you understand that the immigrants make our country better? Hold on a second. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. And when you have millions of people coming into the country that do not learn our language, that do not learn our culture. Let me give you a great example. Any truck drivers out there? I'm sure we have a couple truck drivers. I see some hands being raised. God bless you guys. Do you know that just the other day, an illegal alien that entered in this country by the name of Harbinger Singh, one of 400,000 illegal alien refugees that Joe Biden gave commercial driver's licenses to, so 18-wheel big rigs, okay? This guy did an illegal U-turn in the middle of the day. Do you see this video? Illegal U-turn in the middle of a day on a two-way highway in Florida, goes around and kills 3 Americans. Everybody, there are 400,000 of them. They don't read English. How can you read the street signs? How can you communicate on a two-way radio? How can you talk to a police officer? How do you even know what you're carrying if you don't communicate English? You know what's happened here, everybody? We, as conservatives and Christians, we've allowed them to take our generosity for granted. They have taken advantage of us. And it is not against the individual person or, all the great sob stories that we hear or whatever. But here is the kicker. The kicker is this. We need to love the nation so much that we don't care about the insults that they throw at us. We need to care about our neighbors so much that we don't want them to die by a 18-rig semi-truck doing a U-turn in Florida and being killed by a foreign illegal alien that was given a commercial driver's license. Even beyond that, everybody. When someone is a practicing Muslim in this country, 5 times a day they are praying to another land. Imagine what that does to you. Literally, in Islam, you are pointing yourself to another nation. You're not pointing yourself to this nation. You're pointing yourself to Saudi Arabia and Mecca 5 times a day. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is to leave America and go do a Hajj into Saudi Arabia. We as Americans are being played as suckers as we import hundreds of thousands of people that do not assimilate, take our government benefits, infiltrate, spy, and metastasize. And President Donald Trump has a once-in-a-100-year opportunity to say no more, and you're all going home. We're going to take this country back and restore it once and for all. And some people will say, well, Charlie, that is hateful. That is loving to the nation. Do you know what's hateful? They're being hateful because they actually don't love America. We're simply calling out their hate, and we're meeting their hate with a nice one-way ticket back to Mogadishu. And let's talk about what the Bible says. Every time immigration comes up in the Bible, assimilation comes right alongside of it. You must learn the customs. You must learn the language. In the later book of Deuteronomy, Moses' farewell address, he says, be careful who you allow into the nation of Israel, because the foreigner can soon become your master. Boy, Zohran Mamdani becomes the mayor of New York City. The Bible is always true, everybody. It is always true. I will close with this, and I will have a great conversation with Alex McFarland. I want to encourage all of you guys to spend as much time as you can always going back to Scripture. You see, Scripture is our transcendent truth standard. Everybody lives by a transcendent truth standard. Everybody. Somebody might say, well, Charlie, I don't believe that there is any absolute truth. And you should say, what? Do you believe that? Absolutely. Everybody believes in some sort of truth. What book, what creed, what song, what person, what tradition? Where do you get your morals and your values from? We as Christians, we get it from the Word of God. And we get it from the place that built this entire civilization. From the Hellenic, which of course is the Greek, and the Hebraic, which is the Jewish scriptures that gave us, of course, the New Testament. Western civilization is this moment in time where all of us can participate in the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. But as John Adams famously said, if America ceases to be a moral and religious people, it will cease to be a free people. The Constitution was simply and solely written for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the people of any other. It is not adequate for a people of modernism, secularism, materialism, or Mohammedism, another good word for Islam. What I'm saying, everybody, is that, yes, the election of Donald Trump should give you hope and conviction. That is nothing more than scene 1, chapter 1, in what will now be a multi-decade fight against the people that have been waging a war against us these last couple of decades. But rest easy. 2 final thoughts. First of which, as I mentioned, younger people are coming our way. And the second of which, we are up against a force of darkness that in the end, we know we win. In the end, we know that light conquers darkness. We know that Christ conquers Satan. In the end, we know that good will conquer evil. However, as it says in the scriptures, Psalm 97:10, let those of you who love God, we all love God, hate evil. That is in the command form. That means you can't just sit idly by and say, Charlie, I'm not getting involved in any of this stuff because Jesus is coming next Thursday and I'm getting raptured. Really? Then wire me all your money. Oh, you don't actually believe it. You're using it as an excuse. Eschatology is fun. You could talk about it, yay, and you could pray for it. You see, some people are pre-trib, some people are post-trib. I'm pan-trib. It's all going to pan out in the end, okay? I'm on the welcoming committee, not the planning committee. I'm more what I'm doing now, more so than what I'm doing in heaven. God has a great plan for all of us. I'm sure we're going to see the activity list and we'll be blown away. Everybody, He cares about what we do here. And far too often, people get so focused on next life. I'm going to get raptured up, Charlie. It's not falling apart. It's falling together. I've heard all the one-liners, and I roll my eyes, and I say, while you are next life focused, as you should be, you have never, ever, ever could show me a scripture where God tells you not to care about this life. He calls